Hello and welcome to the Fedora Files. I am Gregory Fedora, and with me today I have a special guest, Sarah. Welcome.
Hi, I'm Sarah. I run the Frankies Pretty Monsters Instagram account.
Yes, I've been following you, and you have I really think your stuff is really cool, and because it's right up my alley, like the monster part. But you do
Thank you.
way more than just that, because I started like perusing your links to some of your other endeavors. So I want to get into all of that. But first of all, how did you come up with the name Frankie's Pretty Monsters?
Um, so the Frankies part is sort of an allusion to Frankenstein. It's one of I think probably my favorite classic. And there's the whole monsters and the stitching together, and it was very much sort of the aesthetic and the vibe, I guess, that I was going for.
Mm-hmm.
And the Pretty Monsters, I guess, in a literal sense, comes from my favorite book growing up. It's a collection of short stories, a lot of like magical realism and things that have been a big inspiration to sort of my creative process and where I go with all of that. And then I guess more in a, I don't know, figurative is the right word, but what it means sort of now to me is there's the monsters and there's the darker side of things, but then there's sort of the lighthearted and the making it sort of, it's what it means to you for like the pretty monsters.
Yeah, well, there's beauty even in darkness, and even the Frankenstein story, it is beautiful. If you go back to the actual, Shelley's book, like the monster wasn't really a monster. Like he had thoughts and love, and he understood things, whereas Hollywood kind of turned him on into this like more of a like not dumb monster, where he actually had feelings and cared and was trying to figure things out. And so I think that's pretty cool that you're going there. So I'm curious, how did you, besides Frankenstein, how did you get into this, creating these little monsters and whatnot?
Well, I started, it's hard to say how many years ago now. Well, I started making dolls for myself, more based off of like characters and sort of creatures I had an idea of. And I was using like patterns from pattern books and sort of getting familiar with the sewing process. And then from there, I sort of started altering those patterns to give myself a little bit more creative freedom with those characters that I wanted to sort of take it with. And then I took a sculpture class my freshman year of high school. And that was sort of the first time that I really felt the most confident in my ability to make patterns from scratch. I made a Jersey Devil soft sculpture for that class, completely from scratch for my own patterns. I used a lot of different fabric materials and like different weaves to give it a certain look for what I was going for. And I did like metal art or wire articulation in the wings to make them bendable and things like that. And from there, I decided, sky's the limit, and I wanted to do that with plenty of other different cryptids and creatures from folklore.
Yeah, well, there's so many out there, and it creating them and actually giving your idea of what they would be like, because that's the beauty of these especially cryptid and folklore creatures. Most of them have very vague descriptions, so you can kind of elaborate on them. And like the Snallygaster as one, being a dragon, it eventually morphed into having like bird-like things, and then eventually it had tentacles as the stories grew. So that's one of the things I love about cryptids, is that as you talk to more and more people, it just gets bigger and bigger, and then you're adding your creative element to it. And so I'm curious, what is one of your favorite cryptids?
Oh gosh, that's such a tough question. Like you said, there's so many, and I've had so many, I guess, like different favorites over the years. I think my top three would probably have to be the Hodag, the Thylacine, and the Pennsylvanian Squonk.
Oh, nice. All good. They're all good. So also, I as I was looking at you do jewelry as well.
Yes. Yeah, I do. Like earrings and necklaces. I haven't done too many bracelets yet, but
now how did you is that just you got into it because you just have your artistic side, or how did you figure out or learn jewelry? Because that's something I have. Everything you do is something I have no idea how to do. So that's why I was fascinated by it. Because I'm like, when I see someone doing something and they do it well, and you do. I'm just like, that is so cool. I wish I could do that. That is not up my alley. If I were to do any things you did, it would look like a paper mache explosion, and it would not look nearly as good. It would be awful. But
Well,
so
thank you.
how did you get into the jewelry aspect of it?
Well, I think I have a very particular style.
Hmm.
I think my area of how I like to dress and express myself is very true to myself, but then that makes it a little bit difficult to, um, find things that already exist that sort of fit that idea. So I guess it just sort of came out of I wanted to use different materials and like found objects and things to make things for myself. And then with that, I thought I just sort of branched out into making things to also then sell.
Hmm.
So a lot of the jewelry that I sell is things that I made maybe for myself first and then used extra materials to make extras of.
Oh, very cool. Well, I mean, that's neat because, like you said, your taste is unique, and yet when you made these things, like the ones I saw, I was like, man, these are brilliant. Like, obviously, you made them because you wanted things you would enjoy, and oftentimes I find when you create things you enjoy, others are going to enjoy it and want it, and I think that's what you've done. Uh, because like there's so many where you go to a store and you just see all the same, where yours has you in it, so it makes it uniquely different from something you would find at a retail store, which is awesome. And
Thank you.
yeah, so before we get any further, how can people find your stuff? Because we're talking about it, like they probably want to go check it out, and that way they can find it and purchase. Because, like, yeah, I think once they see it, they're gonna want it. Because I like when I saw it, I definitely want to get one of your little creatures. Like I was like, oh, those are neat. And so, but where can they find your things?
Um, well, thank you. That's very nice of you to say. I'm on Instagram. I think first and foremost, that's sort of where I started. And I'm actually now have moved a little bit more to Depop, which is I know not as many people have heard of it. It's mostly known as being sort of like an online thrift store. So there's a lot of secondhand selling clothing items or people that bought things and then they didn't really fit right, and so they're selling them. They're still brand new, basically. But then people also will make things like by hand and sell them on there as well. But it's not quite as well known for that the way that Etsy is, but it has fewer fees than Etsy does, which is why I'm sort of trying to stick with that. Right now, I have mostly my clothing and jewelry items on there, but I am trying to. This weekend, I've been working on sort of moving more things over there that aren't necessarily the typical just like wearable items.
Hmm.
But then I also have like a TikTok and a Redbubble. The Redbubble is, I guess, another platform to buy things. Mostly like my photography is on there right now, but I have a lot of ideas of like doodles and drawings that I'd like to eventually figure out how to upload on there too.
Hmm. Very cool. And yeah, I saw some of your photography as well. And that I like there's one, it was like a skeleton type of figure grabbing, I don't know if it's a leaf. And
Oh, yeah, I think, yeah,
yeah,
I know which one you're
and
talking about.
yeah, and it's like I thought that, like I was perusing also, and that one just caught my eye. I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. Like that like
Thank you.
it's got that gothic horror type of feel, but I really enjoyed it. I was like, that is really fascinating. And so on what is a creature you haven't created yet that you're looking to create, like in your
Um,
art?
well, actually, it's you mentioned before, I have had the Snallygaster on my list for a while now.
Hmm.
I had sort of set a goal to try and do that this last summer,
Hmm.
and unfortunately, things didn't quite work out that way. But I've had the plans all drawn up for about a year now. I'm
Oh,
really
nice.
hoping that this summer I'll be able to finally bring it to life.
Oh, very good. Well, I know when you do that, I will definitely want to get one of those because I love the snot. The more I've learned about the snallygaster, the more I'm like finding it's turning into one of my favorite monsters, just because the snag and the dueo and
Mhm.
the fact that they're enemies and that there's two cryptids out there that hate each other. I was like, to me, is like it's like Godzilla and King Kong. But I was like, that's just to me, that's fun because I just like, so maybe you could do a dueo as well, and then I can fight with them and play with them here in my little bunker. And because the kid in me would just go nuts with that. And
Yeah.
But so you're doing it. Are you hoping this continues and is kind of like your career, or what are your hopes to do with Frankie's Pretty Monsters? Where are you hoping this goes?
Well, I would love if it could turn into even just like a part-time job. I
Hmm.
really enjoy doing this, and I really like making the things that I make, and I hope that other people like them too. I'm not sure if it's something that could turn into like a self-sustaining. This is really my career, and this is the only job that I have.
Hmm.
Um, but I think that all just sort of depends with where things go and what platforms are open and maybe more affordable to use.
Yeah.
Kind of thinking about Etsy on that front, but
Yeah. Very true. Well, I mean, the thing with the, like you said, like the monsters, it's growing more and more. I think people like that aspect. I think they find it fascinating. Like the folklore's explain. I think part like during the pandemic, folklore and monster stories. I found more and more people are getting into that because it's kind of an escape. And then I think people are finding these things out and starting to be like falling in love with them again. 100 years ago, that's what people talked about were these like folklore things, and we kind of moved away from it. Now we're starting to go back. That they're even making movies about the Wendigo and stuff, and like people are like, "What is a Wendigo?" And then like now there's a movie about it, and like uh, I think it's called Antlers, I believe.
yeah.
But yeah, and but yeah, it's just like they're doing these. They did a Krampus movie, so people are like going to these creatures and bringing them back. They tried to do a Mothman prophecies, and I did not enjoy that. It went. I mean, that's a weird story anyway, but they went into a different weird direction with it, where I was very disappointed.
Yeah.
I wanted to see the Mothman. I didn't want to see
Yeah.
just big red glowing orbs, but that's all they gave me. And so,
Yeah.
so in your area, so I don't want you to tell me exactly where you are because I don't want like crazy people going out. What is there a monster in your area that besides the three you told me that like growing up that kind of inspired you? Like,
Mm.
was there a monster that you thought of other than like Frankenstein and whatnot?
I guess not super specifically locally in my area,
Hmm.
but like I might brought up the Hodag before.
Hmm. Yeah.
My nana and papa would take myself and my sister up north. Sometimes we'd go as a whole family, and then going a little bit farther north than that even was Rhinelander, which is sort of the home of the Hodag. So I think that was probably my biggest uh, source growing up. That was
Mhm.
the sort of monster, I guess, in our area. As I got older, the Bray Road Beast is also,
Yeah.
that's a Wisconsin cryptid as well. Also not super near to where I am, but
Yeah.
I think those two have been cool growing up and being like, okay, we do have things in Wisconsin.
Yeah. Very good. And you got it. Like, now, did your family kind of talk about those stories growing up, or was it more you discovering them on your own?
um, I mean, I think it was probably more driven by me. I was definitely the one that every summer was like, "Can we go to Rhinelander when we go up north?" And then there was we always called it the Hodag Museum, which isn't actually what its name is. It's the Pioneer Park Historical Complex, but their like little lobby area has all the Hodag stuff. They've got the
Hmm.
recreation, they've got the paintings and the photographs and things. Um, and so, yeah, I guess it was more of a, well, Sarah wants to go to the museum, so I guess that's what we're doing.
Yeah. Nice.
But yeah, my family's been very supportive of my very obscure interests.
Well, see, that's good. That's good that they do. Like some families would be like, "Oh, that's crazy. We're not going to that again."
Yeah.
Like, when I was
Every
growing
single
up,
year.
yeah, when we'd go down to Florida, and I always wanted to go to the Swamp Ape or Skunk Ape.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, not Swamp Ape, Skunk Ape Museum in the Everglades. And we went once, and then I was like, "Let's go again." And my parents were like, "We've gone there. It hasn't changed. They haven't caught it. So there's nothing new." But I was fascinated with it. And then when I got older, I lived down there for a while, and I would go, and I never got to see the skunk ape. I did smell some things, but it is the Everglades. So there's a lot of stinky stuff out there. So I can't for sure know that is what I smelled. But I mean, I like, again, your stuff is so cool. And I hope that the people listening will go check your stuff out, because like I think they'll be blown away. But what is one of the things you have created that you're most proud of, that you are like, "Oh, this is like," and it could be anything, jewelry or whatever. What was something you made, and after you made it, you're like, I love this, that you almost didn't want to sell it?
Oh, as far as selling, um, that's really tricky. I mean, I think some of the creatures that I've made, I made a custom Mothman just this
Mhm.
past winter for a friend of mine, and I did think that was pretty cool. I liked how it turned out. I have considered making one for myself. I guess there were some flannel shirts that I made, or I guess altered a little while back to add different like t-shirt graphics onto the back and sort of make a new piece. And I have kept some of those for myself. The couple that I sold, I did think those were kind of cool, but
Mhm.
it's okay. I'm okay with letting it go.
So have you created, like I said, you've created some stuff that you decide, no, I'm not going to sell this because you loved it too much.
Yes.
What is one of those? Now I want to know.
Well, like I said, I've started with all of this just making things for myself. So at the last count, I think I have a little over 50 that I altogether that I've either made or altered. Um, yeah, obviously none of those I've sold. They were just sort of passion projects for myself. Um, I think one of the ones that I'm probably most proud of is Horace. I've actually got him in my
Oh,
background here.
yeah.
Oh, it's a little too low for you to see. But he's a Hodag. I
Hmm.
wanted to make him ever since I was very young, and first going to the Hodag Museum. I had a picture book that went through the whole story of like Eugene Shepherd and the sort of bringing the legend to life. Um, and I was like, I'm gonna make a Hodag. I'm gonna make one that's the same size and everything. And I was 7, 8, so I didn't. It didn't have any legs. It didn't have a tail. It was just like a body and like a lump.
It was like a
um,
potato.
yeah, pretty much. It was a Hodag potato.
Nice.
Yeah, and I didn't even sew it myself. Actually, when I was a little kid, I was kind of scared of the sewing machine. I was worried about my fingers getting sewn over. So my mom actually did the sewing on that one. But then I think 3 summers ago, I decided, you know what, I think I've, got enough skills. I can do this. And
Hmm.
spoiler alert, I couldn't really do it that well. Um, I was happy that I had gone through the process and I felt, very accomplished that I was able to do this thing that I wanted to. But he still wasn't quite the shape and form and practicality that I wanted
Hmm.
him. So the next summer, I made him again. I sort of used the same material. I just took him apart with the seam ripper and cut him down into a better size and added panels where they needed to be. And I was more happy with that version of him, but
Hmm.
still, I was like, oh, there's some things that I'm not quite getting out of him that I wanted. And so this past summer, for the last time, I think, hopefully, I using completely different materials, different fabric, and many hours of hand sewing, I
Hmm.
made Horace what he is now out of the more minky fabric and some muslin, and he's much more detailed and he has more posability and
Hmm.
movability that I think I can finally say I'm really happy with.
Nice. So you could actually make like one of those posters of like the evolution of man, but the evolution of the Hodag from the little
Yeah.
potato all the way up. You should do that. That'd be hilarious. To the evolution of him.
Yeah.
And that'd be, that's, to me, that's fun. But
Yeah.
so you said you'll do custom stuff, like if someone had a shirt and they wanted you to add something to it, they could send it to you, or is
Yeah,
that
I've thought about
something?
doing that. I haven't actually technically opened that for a while. I've thought that this spring I would be opening an Etsy shop, and
Mhm.
now with the issues with the fees and
Yeah.
different things rising, it's sort of moved out of my goals for right now. But originally I was thinking that I would make some custom listings in an
Mhm.
Etsy shop, and it could be I was thinking about cryptids more first of ones that I've made that I, have the pattern and I've worked out the issues with, but a little bit more complicated or
Mhm.
bigger that I wouldn't really be able to just make and then keep as stock,
Yeah.
just here in my little bedroom. But then, yeah, I have thought about doing more custom shirts and flannels and things where people would send me whatever it is that they want sewn on and I could sort of arrange it and stuff with them.
Oh, that'd be, well, I hope you do get around to it, find a site that will allow you to do it, that doesn't like rob from you. I mean, I
Yeah.
hate that. Like, I mean, I understand they have to have fees, but like when they start, you know, you know, Robin Hooding you, but then just giving to themselves. I just, I have issue with that. I've run into the same thing. I've designed some t-shirts, and when I was trying to figure out how to sell them, like every single thing was like, and it's like I was going to make like $1 off of every shirt by the time, because I was trying to keep it low. And I was like, man, like I was like so disappointed. And I had friends who were like, well, when are you going to start selling them? I'm like, not until I figure out how to do this without everybody taking a huge chunk. Cause I don't want to sell a t-shirt for $60 so I can make, $5 off it. So I was like, that's not, to me, I was like, that's not right. And I was like, I can't ask people to pay that much for something just so I can make a few dollars more. It's like, I don't know. It's kind of sad that they're like hindering art and artists from doing that. Hopefully there's a site out there that will kind of switch that around more for you. And when you do, you got to let me know.
Yeah, I've been pretty happy with Depop as a platform that I can sell. There are 2 small fees. One of them is only optional. There's obviously just the one for using their platform to sell, but you only have that fee taken out when you actually sell something, rather than like Etsy where you're paying a fee up front even if you haven't sold. It's just for making the listing. And then you have the option to pay for, I think it's just called Depop shipping. So as soon as you make a sale, they'll send you the shipping label. And so it's like a couple cents for that ability to have that shipping label. And then you can just ship it right from your mailbox.
Very cool.
So I've actually found that to be pretty helpful. Usually my fees are under $1, maybe combined they're around $1. But yeah, I've been pretty happy with how that's working out so far. So that's why I'm trying to sort of move more of like my creatures and non-wearable items onto that site as well.
Oh, nice. And what I'll do, like I'll put all the links to all of your sites. Well, definitely to Instagram, and then I think from Instagram they can find everything else, because I found everything else once I got to Instagram. You have the little link there, and they can. So I'll put your Instagram on so people can check you out, and hopefully they'll start following you. And because, like I said, your stuff is, to me, it's one of the coolest. Like when I see stuff from you pop up, I'm like, oh, I always look at it and check it out, because I'm like, that is just really neat. Like I'm a fan of yours now, so I'm really enjoyed your stuff. And I told you I wouldn't keep too much of your time, and so I want to let you go so you can get back to creating more cool stuff and hopefully sell some cool stuff to some people. And so I thank you for coming on and taking time out of your day. I know you're busy with school and everything else, so
thank you so much for having me.
Oh, definitely. I'd love to have you back sometime when, like, if you have announcements of any kind, like if you've found a new platform and you want to tell people about it, or you are offering new services, please let me know. I'd love to have you on and we can talk some more about it, and you can tell me what's going on. So I definitely would love to have you back. So, and for those of you watching or listening, thank you for coming on and checking it out. And go check out Sarah's Instagram and check out her stuff, and go buy something, because like it's cool stuff and we want to keep her creating. And the only way we can do that is by buying stuff from her. So do it. Please buy something from her and then send it to me, because I want gifts. Now I'll buy my own stuff. You don't have to do that. But as always, thank you, and stay safe and keep searching.
Check out FedoraCRT.com today.